Hey, welcome to the second reading of Chapter 4 of How to Lose a Planet, the Afro-Future Epic. She extinguished her cigarette. The driver's side window was whole again and muted the blare of freeway traffic, augmented by emergency vehicle sirens. They were boxed in by vehicles in lanes on either side. The blur of racing patrollers, their emergency lights glowing while they zigzagged around motorists and headed for the leftmost lane, looked like someone had tattooed blue streaks into the air. 4 of the freeway's eastbound lanes were black and demarcated by glowing yellow hash marks, which were usually white, cautioning motorists to drive with care, as if the weather were bad or there had been reports of debris cluttering the road. But there were no clouds nor debris. The lane on the far left, intended for wheels-up driving and high-speed vehicles, usually glowed lime green but was now red. The red glow meant the lane had been restricted for emergency vehicles. The same restriction had been applied to the freeway's westbound high-speed lane. Sky view. An image of the sky directly above the vehicle appeared on the lower third of the windshield, revealing stars and no drone lights to indicate active highway lanes. Highway lanes were used by high-altitude vehicles for government transport, commercial freight, dignitaries, etc. They were too intertwined with city operations to shut down without approval from the highest authorities. Deactivation was a measure not taken since years ago, when the moonwash shelled the 4 cities. She held the steering wheel with her left hand and wiped the sweaty palm of her right hand against her pants. She switched hands and repeated. Rear view, enhanced. The sky view image was replaced with the car's rear view. She wished she could see the prison still standing, but there was only the shrinking image of rising smoke. She blinked to keep from crying and tried to calculate how much longer at her current speed she had to be involved with the night's horror. Probably the rest of your life, she said. Normal view. The rear view image shrunk and returned to its spot at the top of the windshield. It was only in her nature to search for her absentee father, Brian Ironside, and learn that he had fathered over 100 others. But Brian was elusive, if not completely unknown to most of his children. Still, a few of her half-siblings, and likely herself as well, had Brian to thank for turns of good fortune. After Emily West, one of her half-sisters, was sexually assaulted by a classmate, her life took an upswing. Emily received top-tier medical care, despite her family not having much money, and later married happily after meeting a man during a getaway at a space resort, a trip she'd won through a contest she couldn't recall entering. And the young man who violated Emily was years later found castrated but alive in a hotel. Upon discovering the story, the word castrated raised more flags for Lacey than the bloody deed. Castrated reminded her of the red letter days. She continued driving and wondered how the young man felt, waking up and finding himself mutilated. She grabbed the stress ball from the compartment between the seats. Officially, it was a stress ball, but actually, it was the favorite chew toy of her 8-year-old son, Obi. He liked the feel of the soft, leathery exterior and the way the grains inside shifted when he gnawed on it with a slobbering mouth. She'd felt bad for hiding it from him in the car, especially this car, which Rocky and her friends would retrieve and destroy by night's end. But she worried his teeth would start bending like tree roots if he continued. Poor kid. His mom hides his toys so his teeth don't look like antlers. She thought about her relationships with her emotionally evasive mother and her dick-chopping father. She scrub that, poor me. She held the ball to her sternum and took deep breaths until she saw a holographic sign marking her exit at a half-kilometer away. She returned the ball to the compartment and her brain swarmed with thoughts on the red letter days, a phrase born during a time when local news reports had turned bloody. On occasion, some called the period the red letter days because the news was being read again, although to no definitive end. There were no predictable reactions to the stories. Many people were mobilized by the stories of violence and poverty toward political activism, which at times devolved into some of the bloodiest protests seen in all 7 moons. Others were frozen by terror, and a few chose to make money. How many limbs will be found this week? Bookies had asked an increasingly desensitized public, while hiding or producing limbs to create favorable odds.